All right, we are live. All right. Welcome back to the WMMA Scene Report, weekly live show dedicated to women's mixed martial arts, where we talk about the past weekend's events, latest in news, fight announcements, and happenings within the scene, and then usually go over a few other things, including the weekend preview. No discussion topic again this week, unfortunately. Been working a lot of overtime, so I haven't had enough time to come up with something and do some little bit of research on it. So let's get right into the past weekend's results, starting with Bellator 227. Had two ladies fights on it. Let me get up to them real quick here. First up, Leah McCourt defeated excuse me defeated Carrie Hughes via submission due to rear naked choke at 2 minutes 14 seconds of the first round. This is at featherweight. Hughes came out very aggressive, and then McCourt was able to get her down, and just really almost an effortless submission here. Not a whole lot to talk about in that one. Next up at strawweight in one of the post limbs, Danny Nealon had a successful pro debut, defeating Camila Rivarola via unanimous decision. Nealon climbed to 1-0. Rivarola fell to 2-2. Sorry, my throat's bothering me. So Rivarola controlled most of the first round with very effective counter striking. Nealon did go for a takedown in like the last minute or so of the round and was somewhat successful, started landing some ground and pound. But I gave the first round to Rivarola. Then the next two rounds I gave to Nealon. She kind of figured out as the fight went on that, hey, I'm getting, tore up with these counters. So I think it was like within 2 minutes of the second round, she took Rivarola down, and the fight was hers. The round was hers from there. And then in the third round, it only took her about a minute to get her down and to control the fight. So congrats to Danny Nealon on successful pro debut. Also Friday night was Combate 45 in Guadalajara. They had two ladies fights. First up at bantamweight, Abigail Montes had a successful pro debut, defeating Claudia Zamora via unanimous decision. So Montez climbed to 1-0. Zamora fell to 0-1. And then at strawweight, Silvana Gomez Juarez defeated Sarai Orozco via unanimous decision. Juarez climbed to 7-2. Orozco fell to 4-4. Didn't get to watch either of these fights. I don't have Univision right now. So quicker Combate gets back on DAZN, the better. And then Saturday, early UFC in Copenhagen had one ladies fight at bantamweight. Lena Landsberg defeated Macy Chiasson via unanimous decision. I just thought that this was a fight that Chiasson could definitely look at and learn a lot from. I mean, this is only her sixth pro fight. She's still kind of green, and Landsberg was the type of veteran that could present some challenges to her. Excuse me. But one of the big things was Chiasson kept going into the clinch, which is Landsberg's biggest strength. And then she was too content to just stay on her back. You can't be doing that. It doesn't matter how active you are on your back. And she wasn't nearly active enough, I thought. So nice job by Lena Landsberg, who climbed to 10-4. Chiasson experienced her first pro loss, 5-1. Back to the drawing board for Macy, but I still think she has a lot of promise. It's just, a lot of fighters say win or learn, and this was definitely a fight that she can learn a lot from. Also on Saturday in England was Contenders East Anglia, Contenders Norwich 27. In the main event was a strawweight title fight. Evelina Wozniak, defeated Karolina Wojcik via split decision. Wozniak climbed to 3-0 and attained the strawweight championship, and Wojcik fell to 5-2. And then finally on Saturday at Bellator 228, was there only one ladies fight here? Yes, one ladies fight. Ava Knight defeated Shannon Goguri via TKO straight body punch at 1 minute and 46 seconds of the third round. Knight successful pro debut and lateral move from boxing to MMA, climbed to 1-0. Goguri fell to 3-4. I thought it was a nice showing from Knight. Really. Sorry, guys, I can't get my throat to stop itching. Goguri had Knight in trouble in the first round. Took her down in side control and then went to full mount. Knight was in a bit of trouble, but she stayed very composed. Showed the some nice composure that she must have brought over from boxing, because she was able to successfully get out the back door on the mount, and from there the fight was all hers, especially in the second and third round. Very nice showing by Ava Knight. Looking forward to what she brings in the future. And then finally, Pancrase 308. This was early Sunday morning on Fight Pass. Had 2 ladies fights. Supposed to be 3, but one of them got canceled. First up at flyweight, Myra Cantuaria defeated Takeo Hashi via unanimous decision. Cantuaria climbed to 7-3. Hashi fell to 16-8. I watched this fight, and there wasn't that much, nothing very memorable about it. Hashi is just old. That's all there's to say about it. I think she's 42. But in the other ladies' fight at strawweight, the older fighter pulled out. Emi Fujino defeated Edna Oliveira. Oliveira broke the inner bone on her right forearm some point in the first round, towards the end of the first round. They called the doctors in to start the second round, and they called it off. Fujino climbed to 24-11. Oliveira fell to 8-7. Now that was one of the semifinal bouts of their strawweight mini tournament. The other bout was canceled. Nori Date was supposed to take on Hyunji John, but Nori Date came in 2 kilos overweight, so the fight was canceled. And Fujino will now meet John in the finals. That takes place in, I think, December 8th or December 12th. But I think it's actually I can tell you easily. It'll be December 8th on a Sunday. So that fight will decide the new strawweight queen of Pancrase. It is currently vacant. It was last held by Viviane Araujo, who is now in the UFC. So that was this past weekend's fights. I did not do very good. I got 3 right out of 7. So 3 right out of 7. I picked wrong on Rivarola, got right with McCourt. Picked Chason. Picked Wojcik for contenders. Picked Goguri at 228. And then Pancrase saved my butt because I got Cantuaria and Fujino right. Probably would have gotten John right had that fight gone on. I was pretty confident in her beating Nori Date. But either way, not my best weekend of picks. So let's move on to the news. All right, first up, Randa Marcos has replaced Yan Xiaonan against Ashley Yoder at UFC Singapore, 26 October. Randos is coming in with a record of 9-7-1. Yoder coming in with a record of 7-4. I mentioned last week that Yan Xiaonan pulled out due to, I believe, a wrist injury. A foot injury. Sorry, it was foot injury. So nice of Randa Marcos to step in. Next up, Bellator has booked an atomweight fight between debutantes Elise Ward and Rebecca Brigman at Bellator 231, October 25th. Apparently, I don't know anything about these two. I saw something on Twitter about Rebecca Brigman having an interesting results on Google. That's all I'll say about that. Next up in the news, Dana White's Contender Series alumnus and recent UFC signee Tracy Cortez, who is 6-1, announced via social media that she will make her UFC debut at bantamweight, taking on Duda Santana at UFC Sao Paulo on 16 November, replacing Leah Letson. Leah Letson had to pull out for, I'm not sure what the reason is, but Cortez, who has been fighting her career at flyweight, offered to take Letson's place. She's moving up to bantamweight to take on Santana, who is a former featherweight. So really gutsy move by Tracy Cortez. Gotta admire her guts on that one. Next up, a Bellator featherweight title fight has been set between champion Julia Budd and challenger Chris Cyborg Justino. That's going to take place January 25th at the Forum in, where is that? Los Angeles, Inglewood. One of those West Coast cities in California. So I think I was kind of hoping they'd give Cyborg a warm-up fight in Bellator before giving her a title fight. I guess Bellator decided there was no other fight for her, so they're giving her a title fight right away. And I think this is a very risky fight for her. Bud has been looking very good, and Cyborg has been looking like crap lately. I mean, she got dusted in 52 seconds or 54 seconds by Nunes, and then she was supposed to have put Felicia Spencer away easily, and Spencer took her to a decision. I mean, it was all Cyborg in that fight, but still. Whereas Bud has, I got to give Bud credit. I used to hate watching her fight, but she has really put her entire game together now. She's mixing the striking and her grappling now. She still has some nice power to her. She is going to be a very risky fight for Cyborg. And Bud is already ticked off because when they met at, Saturday night, I believe, to do the announcement, she said on social media or something that she's kind of ticked off because Cyborg just got to Bellator and they're already treating her like she's the champ already. So Bud's coming in with a chip on her shoulder. Very much looking forward to January. Next in the news, the bantamweight fight between Holly Holm and Raquel Pennington is off of UFC 243 this weekend due to Holm tearing her hamstring, apparently. The fight is due to be rescheduled pending Holm's condition, how fast she heals. So I'm not sure what exactly Holm was doing when she tore it, but it kind of sucks because it's one less fight on 243 this weekend. Flyweight fight between Carolina Ovzars, 2-0, and Alexandra Rolla, 3-0, has been set for KSW 52, December 7th in Gliwice, Poland. This fight was scheduled at least once before, maybe even twice, because I saw someone on one of the forums saying hopefully third time's a charm for this one. And then finally, Stephanie Frausto, sister of longtime veteran Zoila Frausto, announced via her social media that she has a fight lined up October 25th with Combate Americas. Stephanie actually hasn't fought in a while. I think the last time she fought was in King of the Cage, and that was over a year ago. So, well over a year ago, I think. So, it'll be nice to see her back. She's fun to watch, style similar to her sisters. All right, so that's it for the news. So we'll move on to the weekly UFC rankings update, which I forgot to bring up first. Bring it up here real quick. Not a whole lot to talk about as far as the rankings go. There's only one fight over the weekend. So, all right, no changes at strawweight, no changes at flyweight. Only change was at bantamweight. Lena Landsberg and Macy Chiasson changed places. Landsberg moved from 12 to 11. Chiasson moved down from 11 to 12. So nothing crazy this week, which is nice to see. Better than unlike last week where Grasso moved down 2 spots after losing to someone ranked higher than her. Excuse me. And then finally, we'll move into, we're keeping this show short this week. We'll move into this coming weekend's fights. First up on Friday. This is going to be early Friday, 2 a.m. start time on UFC Fight Pass, 2 a.m. Eastern time, I should say. Eternal MMA 48 in Australia has 2 ladies fights. First up is a strawweight title fight between Casey O'Neill taking on Mickey Matono. Both are coming in at 2-0. I watched a little bit of each fighter's highlights. I'm going to go with O'Neill on this one. And this is purely a guess, guys. Don't ever bet based on my picks. I'm not a gambler. I don't look at lines. I rarely ever look at betting lines. But don't ever bet based on my picks. We're going to go with O'Neill on this one. Hometown advantage. First time Otono fights outside of Japan. Is that an email? That's just an email. And then next up at flyweight, Chelsea Hackett 1-0-1, taking on Nicole Zepesveri, who is 2-1. Zepesveri coming off the first loss of her career against a much more experienced fighter. Looking at who each fighter has beaten in their very short careers, Chelsea Hackett drew with a fighter who was 0-2 at the time in her first fight. Her last fight, she beat someone who was 0-1. Zepesveri, her first pro fight, faced another debutante, beat someone who was 0-1, and then lost to Hera Tamati, who was 6-4. I've never seen Zepesveri. I have watched, I think, Hackett's last fight. We're going to go with Hackett, and this is a pure guesswork on this one. You know, not my best prediction making. Which brings us to Invicta FC 37. Now, I'm going to be doing a full preview tomorrow night for this, and planning to do a live stream for Friday, Fight Companion. First up is a battle of 2 debutantes at flyweight. Jordan Kays taking on Claire Guthrie. I am skipping this one. I'm not guessing on 2 debutantes. Get burned too many times doing that. Next up, Megan Colley, 0-1, taking on Hope Chase, who is 1-1 at 135. I'm going with Chase on this one. I believe that her aggression is going to be a little bit too much for Colley, who likes to sit back and throw a little bit too much. So we're going with Chase. Next up at atomweight, Marissa Messer-Balenkia, 3-0, taking on Linda Mihalik, 1-0. I believe Mihalik's like 37 to, I'm not sure how old Balenkia is. I'm going with the younger, more experienced fighter on this one. So we're going with Messer-Balenkia. Which brings us to another atomweight fight. Sheena Van Hoos, 6-5, taking on Lindsay Van Zant, 6-2. I like the way these two match up stylistically. I think it's going to be a very fun, action-paced fight. I like watching both of these two fight. One thing is that Van Hoos hasn't fought in about 2 years due to ACL tear and then recovering from that. So I'm going with Van Zant to get her first Invicta FC win. She's 6-2, and both of her losses have come in Invicta. Meanwhile, I think she has like 2 or 3 wins in Bellator. So we're going with Van Zant. Which takes us up to, I believe this Topology has it listed at flyweight, but I'm pretty sure this is a strawweight fight. Kay Hansen, 4-3, taking on Nicole Cagliari, 4-1. This is a feeder fight for Hansen is how I'm viewing this. They're bringing in a pretty girl who has a nice looking record, but Hansen has been in there with tougher opponents overall. And she's an Invicta favorite, so we're going with Hansen on this one. Which brings us to the flyweight co-main event. Maria Agapova, 7-1, taking on Marilia Santos, 10-3. I'm going with Agapova on this one, and especially if it stays on the feet. And then for the main event at flyweight, Pearl Gonzalez, 9-4, taking on Brogan Walker Sanchez. And both of these two have been a little inactive lately. Well, no, Gonzalez fought earlier this year. She lost technical decision to Vanessa Porto. Whereas Sanchez is coming off a year of inactivity. I'm going with Sanchez in this one. No, you know what? I'm sorry, Gonzalez. I'm going to say Gonzalez. All right, which brings us to, and like I said, I'll be doing a full preview video on this tomorrow night. So keep an eye out for that one. Which brings us to Saturday morning. One Warrior Series 8 should be available on YouTube or the One Super app. Has 2 ladies MMA fights. First up, Yuko Suzuki, 8-8, taking on Edila Johani, 2-3. I'm going with Suzuki. She's more experienced. She's better on the ground than what I've seen from Johani. So we'll go with Suzuki. And then next up is Satomi Takano, 13-11, taking on So-Yul Kim, 3-1. And I'm going with Kim, and that's any decent fighter that Takano has ever fought, she's lost to. Or any truly decent fighter. And So-Yul Kim, from what I've seen of her, she started off almost pure kickboxing, started training on the ground, and has improved a lot in a very short amount of time. I think she'll have what it'll take to beat Sarami there. So we'll go with Kim on that one. And then is that? Oh, there's 2 more. Double GFC 3 in Korea on Saturday. A catchweight fight, 110 pounds. Jiyeon Suh, 7-4, taking on Mika Arai, 4-1. I already did a full preview video on this, so please check it out if you get time. I picked Arai to win that one, most likely via submission. And then finally, UFC 243 on pay-per-view in the U.S. First up, Nadia Kasim, 5-1, taking on Jiyeon Kim, who's 8-2. I got to go with Kim on this one. Kasim has not impressed me with really much of anything. I mean, you look at who she has wins over. She didn't fight anybody with a winning record until she got to the UFC. She got a win over Alex Chambers at strawweight, where she just was way bigger than Chambers. She moved up to flyweight and got submitted by Montana De La Rosa. Yeah, Kasim is one of those fighters who's nice to look at, but not very impressed with her. And I see Kim being a little bit better at everywhere than Kasim is. So I'm going with Jiyeon Kim. And then finally, featherweight. Megan Anderson, 8-4, taking on Zerafan dos Santos, 6-2. Looking at who both of these ladies have fought, you know, not that either of them are very impressive, but Dos Santos's record is even less impressive than Anderson's. I'm picking Anderson. So, but we'll see. Anyway, that's really it for this show, guys. It's a short one. I had originally planned to do it at 8:30, and then stuff came up. So hopefully next week we'll have a bit longer one. Hopefully some more news will come out. We'll have a lot of fights to talk about. So that's what? 2, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we'll have 14 fights to go over next week. And I'll figure out a discussion topic. Unfortunately, I just didn't get time to really properly prepare for this show, but I didn't want to go a week without it. So we'll be back at the regular time next week at 8:30 Eastern Time p.m. on Wednesday, barring any unforeseen circumstances. In the meantime, please let me know what you think in the comments down below. And what are you waiting for? Subscribe to WMMA Now, the best, fastest growing women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. And we'll see you next time.